What's up, everybody? Back in the house of K-Fabe. Adam Harris here, your friendly neighborhood ring announcer in the house with the other Steve, the drunk drummer from TV, and Derek Jones, the only Derek Jones that matters. Welcome to the House of K-Fabe YouTube channel. Stephen P. New and Brian Resner are both off fighting the corporations and lassoing solar energy into the good hands of the people of Florida at this moment. So we're here to talk about, we're going to do a swerve, Steve. We're talking about Pro Wrestling Illustrated Spotlight on Japanese Wrestling.
Man, I'm not ready for it, but I would be all about it.
No.
I got Derek with me. I'll have an explanation.
Yeah, this would be a whole episode of Derek talking the whole time. No, we're going to talk about the PWI Awards, this year's PWI Awards. I should say last year's, I guess. This is the 45th year of PWI, and we're going to talk about Faction of the Year, Woman of the Year, Match of the Year, and even Most Hated Wrestler of the Year. You guys... Derek, you have a history with PWI? Were you a reader? Ever been? You a subscriber still?
Man.
There it is. All right. Very cool. Very cool.
Really? What
about you, Barker?
Man, I remember going mowing the grass of my neighbors and getting those few dollars and driving to a town called Marmette and the Kroger there and buying PWI along with other wrestling magazines. Inside Wrestling.
The Wrestler.
The Wrestler. They're all still somewhere at my mom and dad's house.
Oh, jeez.
That's how I knew about other people, because of the PWI rankings, man. I'd go, rankings were in the dead middle of the magazine. I'd go straight there. And, I knew that Oregon existed, or, the Portland. I never saw it, but I knew Portland existed. Territory. I knew Billy Jack Haynes was at the top of the charts.
Man, I used to kill all the time at Kroger while my mom was shopping, looking at wrestling magazines. Man, you could spend all evening in there, and there were so many of them, and usually she'd let me pick one up. I was a big PWI supporter, but it was all about who was on the cover, really. I mean, it was like, was that a cover you wanted or not? And the PWI Awards, for what it's worth, everybody likes to look at them, discuss them every year, and so that's what we're going to do today. You guys want to start with Rookie of the Year? That's the first one they list, because this one was a bit of a surprise. Sol Ruca from NXT getting 29% of the vote. And as it mentions here, she had an ruptured ACL and is actually only in action through April of 2023. But I guess enough to stay in the hearts and the minds of the wrestling fans. Sol Ruca, wrestler, Rookie of the Year, that is.
Yep.
Thoughts?
was she the only rookie this year?
Did no one else break into the business in 2023?
I got to use a foreign object here to make sure we get this accurately, guys. So some of the top vote getters who did not capture a runner-up spot include Danny Palmer, Yuma Anzai, and Tiara James. I know Tiara James is from NXT, but the cool part about this, or maybe the controversial part, 21% of the vote goes to Ava Rain, the fourth generation grappler, aka The Rock Jr.
Has she had matches?
Yeah, she worked with, she was in that group for a little bit, and now she's a
Schism.
GM. Schism, yeah.
She aligned herself with the cult-like Schism in NXT and learned under the tree of the demented Joe Gacy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as the year drove to a close, Anna dropped the Reign from her name and then dropped Schism from her life, now poised to strike out on her own. Yeah, and so I think most recently she's been like a GM on NXT.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Barker, we got to figure out how long it's been since I made you watch NXT that time and like force you into another episode. 1 year later.
Derek, do you want to do this with me too? Man, NXT isn't a show you watch, it's done to you. Like this is a perpetration upon my fandom.
You only say that because you probably wasn't watching NXT when it was really good.
I was.
Knowing that there's hope somewhere.
Look, that we all know that Sami Zayn and Shinsuke is going to wrestle at fucking WrestleMania, and if they could do half the magic of that NXT match, this is going to be awesome.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. All right, we're going to move on to Most Improved Wrestler of the Year. How about this? I'll go through the runners-up, and then we'll get to the winners. And that way you guys can chime in if you think anybody got robbed here. 9% of the vote, 4% of the vote goes to Sonata when he won his first IWGP World
I had
Heavyweight
one of those
Championship.
in college. It was a Hyundai Sonata. I had one.
Sonata, nice. Yeah, really good gas mileage. Yeah, cool. Number 9%, I do think this guy's going to go places. Trick Williams is about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 9% of the vote here. We could see him on the rise before too long, especially with Carmelo Hayes right up ahead of him. 28% of the vote. This is a good one. Most Improved Wrestler of the Year, Julia Hart. Derek, you want to chime in on Julia's progress?
She 180% turnaround. Like, she is not even close to the same individual she was when she was with the varsity guys. You know, like it's mind blowing to watch then and actually see what she's doing now. I honestly, I would have probably given this award to her.
Interesting.
Of everybody on the list, she probably deserves this.
In your classic style, Derek, it literally says here she did a complete 180. So you could have basically written this flow.
I haven't read this episode yet. So
yeah, Hart has improved and drastically, and superlative winning record that she put together around 23 culminated in Full Gear when Hart downed Chris Statlander and Sky Blue to become the TBS champion. And she still has that belt, even though she's injured. They've still done good stuff with her on TV, I think. She's a mover and a shaker. She'll have a long career, I think. And the most improved wrestler coming in with 31% of the vote.
Say it with him.
LA Knight. Yeah.
I don't know about most improved, Derek, because he's been awesome for like 15 years.
After 21 years in the business, it says.
Overnight sensation.
So for all of you out there that don't know, that want to say LA Knight is the most improved, go back and play some of your old WWE video games and tell me how good LA Knight is doing the motion capture for everybody that you love. He's that guy. Literally, he's that guy that does those. Like, he's worked for WWE well before he was ever on WWE TV, because he's that quality of an individual. It's not most improved. It's, hey, let's give him a chance to do what he does.
That's right. Yeah,
they finally cut him loose, and they realized, oh, this guy can do some stuff.
No, I know we're talking PWI, but just a quick aside, and I'm worried about this. We've all heard, of course, from Kevin Nash and the like, that he is a, amalgamation of The Rock and Stone Cold, and we've been loving him. And as far as last night on SmackDown, he's still being loved. Adam, what do you think? Now that we have The Rock, is LA Knight going to kind of shrink because, we have the genuine article, quote unquote?
I mean, he's kind of already, they've cooled him off a little bit to make room for The Rock at the top, but I still think that there's a great chance he's winning the Rumble next year. He could be in the main event at Mania next year. A year from now, we might be talking about him as the wrestler of the year, for all we know. Who knows? But yeah, and this is in the same, and I have to mention here, it's in the same year that the shackles were cut off from his Max Dupree gimmick. So, I mean, in regard to improved gimmicks, you can certainly say he had the most improved. Others that got votes were Dominic Mysterio, who, continues to improve. I think
great.
Thea Hale, who I don't know, I didn't see enough of her to really see the progress on that one, but I know she wrestled a lot. And Kinsey Page, who does a lot of work on the indies, right?
Yeah.
All right, comeback of the year, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on to the PWI Awards. Comeback of the year. Number 16 was a cool one. Trish Stratus, man. She can still go at this age. She had some great matches with Becky Lynch last year. I thought they did this feud really, really well and got Becky the win over the all-timer Trish Stratus. 17% of the vote, a real close one. Adam Cole for comeback of the year. Adam Cole in AEW. Of course, he barely made his comeback before
he's gone again.
Had to go again. Yeah. So he might be eligible once again for the same award next year. Saraya making the big comeback at 19% of the vote. That was kind of a surprise to me, but I don't know if the comeback has worked so well. I don't know if it generated the interest they were hoping that it would.
No.
And at the top, 20% of the vote is Trinity making the win with comeback of the year. A great year for Trinity, man. Came back, won the Knockouts title, and by the end of the year was ready to head back to WWE.
Yeah. Can't argue with that one a lot.
Yeah, I like that story arc, and someone that you wouldn't think would have went and done like, a lesser Cody Rhodes move. Because when you think of Trinity, she's kind of diva-ish adjacent, if you will. And you don't think of like a Cody, Drew McIntyre going out into the wilderness and working their way back up. And you wouldn't have expected it. You wouldn't, at least I wouldn't have expected that from Trinity. Sasha Banks doing it makes all the sense in the world because we know she's a super fan and a great wrestler. So yeah, I'm cool with that. I mean, it couldn't be CM Punk because he's already came back probably the year before, right?
Right.
Yeah, it actually mentions in here that the cries of she'll come crawling back and she won't achieve anything could be heard loudly on social media. How foolish those commenters must feel now, it says. But, this went to press, obviously, before she made her big return at the Royal Rumble. But, I got to say respect to her for having the ability to walk out and do something else, go to TNA and keep her profile up and, begin to become more desirable again, just like Cody Rhodes did.
Well, not only did she do it, but if you watch the Rumble, the moment you had Jordan Grace and Trinity face to face in the Rumble, the WWE universe loved it. So not only did she go off and be successful, but she carried a fan base with her. I mean, they still was very aware of what she was doing, who she was, and how she was throwing down.
No question. Yeah, no question. All right, moving on now. Inspirational wrestler of the year, inspirational wrestler, and I believe this lady at the third runner-up spot here was up towards the top last time, if I remember right. Mickie James, the country girl from Virginia, got 7% of the vote. Whether it's for her Native American culture, women in the wrestling industry, or anyone who needs an ally, James serves as an inspiration to the rest of us.
So she's the cowboy and the Indian?
As allegedly. She's hardcore country.
Yeah, she is.
In her Iroquois garb here. Third was Richard Holiday, who really did have quite a comeback for sure. The man behind the character actually got a lot more when he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma last year. Fans got to see the inspirational as inspirational as he could be. Holiday faced the illness head on and came out victorious and returned to the ring in the summer of 23. So, I mean, that's a great story. Holiday wrestled at ASW a couple years ago, actually fought for the ASW title. I think actually it may have been the NWA title when Cardona was here, but Holiday's a great talent, got a great look, and I could see him moving up to a bigger company in the next couple of years. Yeah. 25% of the vote, inspirational wrestler of the year, Cody Rhodes, 25%.
He's an inspiration to us all.
Taking on racism one match at a time, buddy.
Yeah, go back and watch Derek and Steve's conversations on the babyface that is Cody Rhodes, man. Who would have thought it?
I mean, he makes me want to do the Pledge of the Allegiance. And I can tell you that I used to set for the Pledge of the Allegiance when I was a kid. He's the only person that makes me want to take my hat off when the fucking the Jets fly over at the football. Yeah. I mean, it's sparklers and all-American virtue. And I never thought that we'd do this again in this cynical year of 2024 where America is about to show its ass. It's an election year. This will get America will never be worse than it is in 2024. But Cody Rhodes is a beacon of truth and justice for us all. I can't agree anymore.
Well, he got 25% of the vote, and the only one to knock him out. The only one.
What, he didn't win?
No, inspirational.
You'll be okay with this.
37%. It goes to Mark Briscoe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got to give it to Mark. I mean, since January, when Jay left after that tragic accident, Mark, obviously big inspiration. A lot of people turning to him as the patron saint of the Briscoe family. And now we'll see what award he might be able to come up with next year. What award do you guys think Mark Briscoe might have a shot at next year?
Man, coming to the WWE, I would do anything for
Let's
a Briscoe
award him with a contract
to WWE, man. And I'm glad that that Ring of Honor still exists, because Ring of Honor was the only wrestling I could afford to watch for a portion of my life. And I always appreciate it. Man, I just love the Briscoes. I love them so much. Real quick story. Me and Adam 2 years ago at WrestleCade got to see them boys, and they followed, no, it was last year. They followed an amazing speedball. Derek, help me.
Speedball Mike Bailey yeah.
Versus Dax Harwood, which tore the house down. And you could tell that the crowd was a little worn out by like a 40-minute scorcher. And them boys came out and wrestled the Kingdom and tore it, whatever was left of the house.
Yeah, tore the building the rest of the way down.
It was wonderful. Awesome. So yeah, anything that puts a Briscoe on a piece of content, I'm all for.
Other people who did not get as many votes in this category were Bray Wyatt. Yeah, Zelina Vega, who brought out the flip flop at the pay-per-view this year, and then also Billy Starks, inspirational wrestler of the year. All right, this is a good one. This is a controversial one. Any one of these guys could have got it. It was close. It was close, especially between the top two vote getters here. Most popular wrestler of the year. Most popular. Third runner-up is Sami Zayn, which if you'd have done this polling at a certain point, I think, last year, there would have been no question he was the most popular, most over wrestler. He was so oozy.
Yeah, for sure. I know who's got to be the winner. There's only one winner in this, and he might win it for the next decade.
9% MJF, most popular wrestler of the year.
Sure.
Babyface MJF and the kangaroo kick. Now, number 26, or I'm sorry, the third runner up with 26% of the vote, LA Knight. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I guess, I mean, do we even have to guess who the most popular wrestler of the year? Man,
as much as I love Cody Rhodes, I fucking hate that song, man. That song sucks. That song is just like 2 levels above Judas in my book. It's such bad radio rock.
Dude, next year, the White House Christmas tree is going to come from underground. That song's going to play. And as soon as it gets to the top, they're going to go, what? And light the lights. Just wait and see. If I was the producer of that show, that's what we'd be doing. From popular to most hated. I mean, no arguments with Cody Rhodes, right? We've done videos about this, for God's sake. Go back and watch our
What do you
videos.
think? I'm a goddamn Russian spy? That's the only person that would say no.
Iraqi sympathizer?
Seriously.
All right, here we go. Most hated wrestler of the year. 6% of the people voted for CM Punk.
Yeah.
6%.
For sure. 6%. There's a lot of that AEW fan base that fucking hates him, man.
7% most hated, Roman Reigns, the tribal chief.
That seems low. Seems low.
I kind of thought that too, especially after he beat Cody, the Cody Crybabies. And he originated the Cody Crybabies last year. Number 8, Christian Cage, who I friggin' love to hate. I think he's on top of his game right now.
It's great.
Yeah.
So
I don't watch AEW, but I watch the clips so I can, get what I want. And the Christian stuff is on my YouTube algorithm. Dude, he gave the address to a cemetery to Daniel Garcia. That is such here's the thing. The biggest problem that people will say about AEW is a lot of workers, Jericho in general, have too much control. Christian is proof. Jericho's proof that not everybody needs all that control. Christian is proof that he's better at this than a lot of bookers and writers that he's dealt with, because this might be some of his best shit ever.
How mad do you think he is that he's not going to be able to work a program with Sting after Sting just announced that his dad passed away?
Oh, no.
How mad is he thinking I could have been that guy?
There's still a couple weeks.
He's got all these things in his pocket. He's like, I could have said something about Sting's dead dad.
He's great. He is becoming national treasurer.
I agree. With that. And I think it's a different kind of heat, although there was not close in the vote getting, not close at all. 52% said Dirty Dom is the most hated wrestler of the year. 52%.
What a great gimmick. And
he doesn't even have to say anything on the mic.
How did no one think to make the gimmick getting booed in almost 100 years of professional wrestling? Dominic Mysterio is like, you know what my gimmick will be? Some people say what? Some people say what's up? Nope, they're just going to boo me every time I touch a microphone. It's great.
You know who was pretty good at it was Vicky Guerrero.
Yeah.
Excuse me, comes right out of that,
His stepmom for sure.
Dude, what if Dominic came out and was like, excuse me?
Oh, it'd be the best. They should bring her back with him.
All right, here we go. Feud of the year. This is a good one. This is cool, actually. 8% of the vote, Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus, who I talked about. I put that over a little earlier.
You would.
What's that? I would. Yeah, right. I would. You guys can count on me. Most predictable predictor of the year, Adam Harris. Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar, 10%. I thought it was a good match. Yeah. Cody had to do what he had to do.
Man, he
wasn't really a feud, but it was a good match.
It was
a feud, yeah.
Goddamn beat down.
It was a requirement. It was like obligatory. Yeah. But it was like 3 crossroads, right? What took?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have to spend a minute on this one though. Is this a feud? Should this even be a qualifier? And should it have won? With 20% of the vote, CM Punk versus AEW.
That's who won?
No, 20% of the vote. 20% of the vote.
That shouldn't be listed.
First runner up.
Shouldn't be listed.
Shouldn't be listed, and because CM Punk really didn't engage. He went away during all of that. And of course, if you'd like to find out about how Stephen P. knew CM Punk's lawyer, we've got videos about that. Go check them out. He stayed off Twitter. He was quiet. Now, if they actually would have done a battle of the words, like how Jinder Mahal and Tony Khan did, then I could see it, but nah. That's dumb.
Should have been CM Punk versus Jungle Boy's Glass.
There you go. Yeah. There were suspensions and sensitive conversations, freakouts and firings, and frankly, the drama between those involved would have made a daytime soap opera blush.
Oh, it'll make a good Dark Side of the Ring in a couple years.
Yeah, so in 31% of the vote, another runaway was Sami Zayn versus the Bloodline feud of the year.
Quality.
I mean, dude,
talk about getting people over.
Yeah. Did you watch the pay-per-view where he turned? I mean, did you see the crowd? It's the hottest crowd. And dude, I don't think Cody Rhodes has gotten a pop that big yet.
He hit him what I'm saying? With the chair at the Rumble, right?
Yeah. I mean, dude, that was just cathartic and beautiful.
When it kept going.
Dude, we talked about it before. There were people who said that storyline should have been nominated for a fucking Emmy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Could you imagine a storyline or an angle in wrestling being intellectualized like that? It was beautiful. That was,
and leading up
all
to
of that was beauty.
WWE knew what they were doing too. They put out YouTube videos that were like the entire Bloodline storyline for months at a time, and they put it into like a 2-hour video because, you know, so you could catch up. And it is like storytelling of soap operas. You know, it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I kind of wish this stuff was available, was eligible for Emmys and stuff like that.
My 6-year-old daughter has, like, she watches wrestling with me. She enjoys it. Has never asked for any type of merchandise until that was going on, and she wanted a new So shirt.
Nice.
Oh shit! Okay, I thought you was going to say Sami Zayn shirt.
No, she wanted an Uso shirt.
Nice.
They've been able to, and I know that we have a few videos back where Stephen P. New stated that he thought that the Bloodline was getting stale. It's been going for a while now, and boy, they freshened that shit right up when you bring back the future president of the United States of America to get involved in the angle. So hell, we could be talking about this as the same award next year with the Bloodline.
For sure. No, for sure. Absolutely. And so we're going to move on now. Indie Wrestler of the Year. I think we all know who this is. And the third runner-up is Brian Keith, who I admittedly never heard of until he showed up on AEW. So, I mean, that's on me. I know a lot of people were stoked to see him show up on there. And they
Bounty Hunter.
Yeah, the Bounty Hunter. And I guess he's been on ROH also. But they put him right in the top there, man. They just inserted him into like a main event program immediately. Alley Catch, who, you know, along with Effie, has kind of been one of the darlings of the indie scene in GCW and beyond. Good for them. A lot of people like Alley Catch. Number 7, or I'm sorry, the first runner-up, 7% of the vote, Steph DeLander.
Interesting.
Just getting the Cardona bump, I think. I mean, she was basically his accomplice through most of the year, and he plucked her right out of Australia?
Yep.
And brought her over and friggin' made her a made person. Even after she had been Persia Parado on NXT, you know, nothing seemed to stick for her there, but that one chance meeting with Cardona and her whole career changes. And of course, we're talking about the Indie Wrestler of the Year. No question about it. We all know it. He talked about it as soon as it happened. He's been tweeting about it ever since. The Indie God, Matt Cardona.
Wasn't he? He had to be the guy like the last 3 years, right? I mean, who would be the Indie Wrestler last year? You know what I mean?
I think he won it last year.
Cardona. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. So when I think indie wrestling, he's the face that comes in my head. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's who I think of. He's the indie.
Yeah, 22 was Matt Cardona. 21 was Nick Gage. And 2020 was Warhorse. So there you go.
Oof. Let's hope that Matt Cardona has a better future than those two.
Cardona has been good for indie wrestling. I mean, I just want to say that. Like, I think indie wrestling is better because of Cardona. You know, and he's put so many companies on the map. He's made people pay attention to areas and federations that they would not have otherwise, like ASW for that matter. And you know, throughout the country, there's lots of great promotions that have utilized Cardona this year. All right, we're getting into the thick of it. You want to say something? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, not only is he bringing, you know, fans to the product, but he's making it okay for guys to step down away from the big company and go. Mustafa Ali's probably going to have the year of his life right now on the indies. Some of the matches that are coming out of this, like, it's great because they know, hey, I can go make a living and wrestle. That's what I want to do. I want to wrestle. I don't want to bullshit on TV. I want to wrestle and I want to make a living, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, and he's proved that it can be done, you know. And I would be shocked if he does go back to WWE, but I feel like it would be on his terms. You know, he's not going to stop the podcast unless it's going to pay those bills. You know what I mean? He's not going to stop doing that. He's not going to be Zack Ryder, you know.
No. If he comes back, he needs to be Matt Cardona.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And at this point, I don't know if he even wants to. You know, with obviously his wife is back in it, and she's doing all the traveling now, so he probably appreciates letting her do all that work, and then him doing the weekend warrior thing for sure. All right, let's move. We have 5 more categories here, boys. Match of the year. This was a no-brainer for me, although there was a close runner-up, I think, here as well for feud of the year. Third runner-up is MJF and Daniel Bryanson in match of the year. Sorry, Daniel Bryan and MJF. Derek, I know you love this match, right?
Number one.
It's my favorite match of the year. I have long abandoned watching AEW live. I will go back and filter through what I want to watch. I'm not going to sit through most of it. But man, that match was heaven. I was live tweeting it or live chatting it with you all. I think Derek was watching it as well. The finish, the overtime, it was one of the greatest matches that I've ever seen. And how could it not be? Right. But it was Derek, talk about this beauty. It's such a beautiful match.
It pulls everything together because you have 2 guys that can be very dynamic in the ring. They can match who they're working with as far as styles go. But when you have 2 guys that can work any style, work together, you have grappling, you have aerial maneuvers, you have power through. I mean, you everything come out of this match. But like you said, going into the overtime, the finish, they told a story that needed no setup, no feuding, no nothing. If it could have been a standalone masterpiece.
And also something that gets lost in that was Daniel Bryan's "I'm going to expose you" promo that really set it up, because it was not a big feud going into it, not how MJF usually will do, to his credit. But he was able to make this match viable with just a promo. And go back 10 years ago, maybe 12, and see Daniel Bryan in his maroon and white uniform there with his very old school throwback jacket, and think this guy's going to talk people into the fucking building. What an evolution of talent that Bryan Danielson has. It's all these matches. I know all these matches are great. This was the best match of the year for me.
Yeah, well, Danielson is amazing for sure. Second runner up was Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega.
Didn't watch it.
It wasn't as good as the other.
Unlike their Tokyo Dome bout earlier this year, another match of the year vote getter, this one saw Ospreay emerge victorious.
If Daniel Bryan and MJF was a 10, what was that match, Derek?
If they're a 10, that match was probably a 7, but I don't think it was as good as their Tokyo Dome match. Nowhere close.
Yeah, and they had to get the win back on Ospreay, obviously, because they were prepping to bring him into AEW and more fully, I guess. This was a good one, man. It wasn't quite as good as Gunther and Sheamus, but it was Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre from April of this year at WrestleMania.
That's the match of the year, right?
This is first runner-up. First runner-up.
Okay. 11%. I thought I liked it. It wasn't as good as the match the year before. It's just let Gunther put meat on motherfuckers, and we're going to watch it, and we're going to love
it. Yeah, no question. And Matt, go ahead.
So when we started this category, Adam looked at match of the year and said he wouldn't dispute it. It's got to be a women's match. and you naming those 3 matches, and now you're going to tell me there was a women's match better than any of those 3?
Hey man, I'm not the only one, but it was 13% of the vote, so not a huge not a runaway for this one, but it was Rhea and Charlotte from WrestleMania, which I'm not the only one who said that was match of the year.
It was a great match. And I would probably
I'd put it over Kenny and Ospreay, but I wouldn't put it over the other 2.
I wouldn't put it over the other 2, and I think I maybe have seen even better than that. I understand in 2024 we got to have some DEI up in here, but it's a great match. Thing is, it wasn't as good as their empty arena WrestleMania match. That one was better.
You don't think so?
I think it was better.
That was a good one. That was certainly a great empty arena match, but I don't know. I can't judge any empty arena match against a full stadium match.
That's a fair point. That is a fair point, but I love that. I like both matches. I love both of those girls. I love the first one better. Yeah, man. Rhea Ripley is going to end up being up there with Gail Kim. That's me flirting with Derek Jones right now, as one of the top 10 female wrestlers. And so is Charlotte. You know,
No
you've
question.
got two
Yeah, no
futures
question.
top 10s of all time right there. You can't.
It's heartbreaking that Charlotte's injured right now because I feel like she could have been a
Oh man, they need
serious
her
part of all this stuff that's going on right now.
They need her really bad, man. They need her really bad. Shut up. Derek.
This is the Tokyo Dome match is on here from January. Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega was one of the other top vote getters. Yeah, and also, you know, this was a Matt classic. Jon Moxley versus Orange Cassidy.
Fuck off.
I'm not going to say it wasn't a bad match. I might put Rhea and Charlotte over that one too.
Okay, all right. Oh wow, Derek's
I'll give you that.
Coming around. All right, tag team of the year. There's no debating this one. I don't think the Usos third runner up. Better Than You, Baby, with 9% of the vote as the second runner up. Owens and Zayn, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn with 16% of the vote. That just got to warm your indie heart there, you know, to think that those two guys might be in the top consideration for tag team of the year. But we all know Dax and Cash, the living legends, FTR were 37% of the vote, not even close.
Because it's not even close.
It's not even close.
It's not even close. Like, man, I can't remember what match I was watching. It was on YouTube. And being someone who watched the wrestling in the 80s and tag team. And the thing is, back then, if you were the Killer Bees, you had moves together and so many. And even like Zayn and Owens.
Double team moves, by God.
What a tag team wrestling is.
Well, see, you know I mean? And that's the difference between those guys. When we refer to them, they are FTR. And you said it before that. You know, there's Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. We like those guys. They're two individuals that come together that wrestle well.
Yeah.
They are not a tag team. They're not a tag team.
That's right.
It's different.
They have chemistry. They're familiar with each other. They have complementary styles, but FTR's style is FTR style.
Right.
Their combined style is together.
It's beautiful. It's a beauty, as they say.
It's a wonderful thing, actually. You know, and I think back to those days when they were fighting Enzo and Cass, and they were fighting Chad Gable and Jason Jordan, man. I mean, God, we were in a golden age of tag wrestling right there, man. I don't think we realized it. Maybe some of us did, but I don't think we realized how good it was until now, or at least I didn't.
And FTR is doing that with not a really populated roster, but they're doing that with not a bunch of really good tag teams in AEW. You know what I mean? And that being said, you know, I'm not a Young Bucks fan. Derek is, but the FTR Young Bucks match where one of them injured their hand in the match, that was wonderful, but there's not many of those that they get to work with. Well, so they're able to pull that off with not a lot of good dance partners.
Well, and I'm just realizing this, but didn't FTR have that hour-long match with the Kingdom on Collision?
Yeah, they had like a 3-piece, didn't they?
Dude, that was an awesome match. I think that might have been the match I was talking about. That might have been match of the year. Yeah, that match was amazing. I couldn't believe it. It kept going. I was like, they're going to go a damn hour.
Mm-hmm.
And they
Beautiful.
Did.
That was good.
They did. All right, faction of the year. This is kind of a no-brainer as well. Third runner-up, Bullet Club Gold.
Shouldn't be on the list.
Second runner-up, the Bloodline, which, I mean, that's kind of tough to argue. I mean, that seems kind of far down for me, especially when first runner-up is the Blackpool Combat Club.
Stop.
You got a great picture of Moxley and Wheeler Yuta there.
I mean,
he makes me shiver in my boots.
They are on
they've
TV
done a lot this year.
They've done a lot.
It's true. And they're there every day. They've done a lot.
Dude, Moxley wrestles almost every damn week. I mean, they put a lot of weight on him.
Like a good employer that runs a cash register. They're there every day. We appreciate you.
I mean, and we've all loved the evolution of the Judgment Day. I mean, that's the big winner there. Again, not even really close. 48% of the vote for the Judgment Day.
If Dom's not in the top 10 of the PWI 500, somebody missed the mark.
Man, what are they going to do with this El Senor Money in the Bank? What are we doing? I don't
know. They're going to make us forget about it so that it'll be
15 levels behind the storytelling right now.
They're going to hold on to him to make sure that WrestleMania match doesn't need a little extra heat.
Oh, do you think that's going to need more heat?
I'm sorry, Derek.
The Seth match.
Looks like number 10 was Cody Rhodes, so I don't have hope for Dominic being in the top 10.
He's probably barely in the top 100, but he should be in the top 10.
And Cody
should be like number 3.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt. Here, let me see. I'll find it. I'm going to find where Dominic is because that's a good question. Maybe we can follow his rise through the PWI 500 every year now. We'll see how
Well,
far
you know, we've been a podcast now going on 4 years, and I definitely remember a whole bunch of us back when we were in podcast form, before we could see our beautiful faces here on the Zoom call, that we all buried Dominic Mysterio, and he was just a white meat daddy's boy.
We were like, stop.
I specifically said that he looked like a speedway attendant. I definitely said that. And look where he's come, which is something we got to remember as wrestling fans. And I'm old, and you think I know by now. It's not about where they are now. It's about what they can be. Because Dominic Mysterio grew up with this podcast, and we fucking hated him. And it wasn't we hated his character, Boo Dom. It was like, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
Dom was 94 in the PWI 500.
Top 100. He got 100.
And, you know, we got to talk about, I mean, Finn Balor also, you know, I mean, he's kind of like the underappreciated guy in all of this. The work rate is high. Let's not forget that match where he friggin' injured himself, right? Like, wasn't there
it was a Hell in the Cell
match? Yeah.
Edge. And kept going. They put how many staples in his head in the middle of the fucking match?
Well, I mean, think about his first Universal title match. He had to put his arm back into place. Like,
that's right.
The dude's a monster.
Dude, he's a beast. Yeah, underappreciated and underutilized. All right, 2 more awards. We've got Wrestler of the Year and Woman of the Year. I don't think there's any question who the Woman of the Year is. She got 50% of the vote. Third runner-up is Athena. Second runner-up is Bianca. First runner-up, Tony Storm, who did have a good year, although they've lost me on that. I was really encouraged at the beginning.
It's
turned
like into
Tony.
I want to. I really want to.
They've done something with just the physicality of her that bothers the shit out of me. I got clued in back into AW through the Tony Storm stuff because I love that era of cinema. I love that brand of lady, if you know what I'm saying. And I was all in, but then I actually watched live on AEW once her match. No, she was doing commentary, and this whole fucking this stuff, like, she needs to be playing that straight and elegant and better than you, like Marilyn Monroe. But it's turned into like she has like a nervous condition, and it's killing the gimmick, man.
She's an over-the-top crybaby actress.
Yeah. I guess.
Yeah. Well, her and Deonna Purrazzo are probably going to do some good stuff. That's all I'm saying.
I hope so. Yeah, I've got high expectations for that. Yeah, for sure. I have high expectations. Woman of the Year, Rhea Ripley, boys. I mean, I don't know.
She could be male wrestler of the year, dude. It's Rhea Ripley.
She could be wrestler of the year. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Not even close. I mean, Rhea Ripley, they love her, even though she's in a heel faction. She gets beloved reactions from the audience, even though, you know, she's in a relationship with the most hated wrestler of the year. I mean, it's just this exercise of contradictions, and I love it. It's part of what makes wrestling beautiful. Wrestler of the Year, I just don't know about this one. This is a tough one for me. You're either on board with this guy or you're not. Third runner-up, MJF, 9% of the vote. Second runner-up, Will Ospreay, 12% of the vote. 15% of the vote. First runner-up is Gunther. Could he make it? Could he make it for next year? Is there any chance Gunther makes it to Wrestler of the Year next year?
Yes.
Yeah, if he wins that Money in the Bank briefcase and headlines WrestleMania.
Okay. All right.
With Cody.
We could get LA Knight up in there. We could get Cody up in there. Roman Reigns.
Dude. Cody versus Gunther, man, he's going to make it a World War II thing. He's going to definitely remind everybody what Austria actually is, which is just Canada of Germany. And dude, they're going to really, oh God,
we're going to have American flags on every door again.
Oh my, he's going to come out with 2 flags in each hand, 1 in his mouth. It's going to be ridiculous, man.
And a USA bandana tied around.
Oh, for sure.
But with 27% of the vote, the visionary, the revolutionary, the one and only Seth Rollins. Sing his music.
I can't argue with it, man.
But
that
like
dude,
your second place at home, your second place belt. Let's give you something.
Now,
second best wrestler in his household, second best champion in his company. Let's give him Wrestler of the Year.
Everything Derek said is true, but it has been a long truth that for the last X amount of pay-per-views, he has had the best match on the fucking card for quite a while. I would think the last time he didn't have the best match on the card was maybe the Clash at the Castle. Because that Drew McIntyre Roman Reigns was a great match. Seth Rollins is your Shawn Michaels and your Macho Man Savage. As much as people talk about how LA Knight is amalgamation of what we liked about the Attitude Era, Seth Rollins is too, and it's some aspects that we hadn't seen before or hadn't seen in a while. The over-the-top outfits, the ridiculous, just over characterization of everything. It's Macho Man, and you love Macho Man. You know what I'm saying? Like work rate. You love Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels was the showstopper, and he had the best match on any WrestleMania he was on. Right? Seth Rollins is that, and it's great, man. I can't argue with that at all.
All right, boys. What do you think? How could we wrap this up? Do you guys have any arguments to make? Was there a lack of TNA stars in this? Seemed like there were very few breakouts.
As what, Trinity?
Trinity.
Well, that's true. Although she's back on the main roster now.
On the main roster, I can't argue. The only one that really bothered me was, and it's the one I have the most affinity for, was the MJF Bryan Danielson match. That was, I'm glad it at least got votes, because I know there's tens of thousands of matches every year, but it was just everything that a wrestling match should be. And usually we like the big build up for the big blow off. And that was just a few weeks, Derek, of, a little bit of promo here and there. And then Daniel Bryan, given that I will expose you promo, could have been promo of the year for me.
Definitely. I don't know about, rookie of the year as Sol Ruca. She might be great. She may turn out to be great, but I just don't know how she made had enough to get this award. I don't know who I would have put as rookie of the year though. And I also don't know the classifications. What are the qualifications for a rookie of the year? I mean, you would think Braun Breaker would be up there somewhere, or maybe even a Trick Williams, maybe not a rookie, but in their first couple years in the business, have made great waves. So we'll know. Well, I'm going to keep my subscription for another year just so we can come back here on the YouTube and do this review with you guys again. It's been fun talking about the PWI awards here on the House of Kayfabe. For the other Steve, for the only Derek Jones that matters, I'm Adam Harris signing off, saying see you next time.